This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of Memphis, Tennessee, Mr. Travis Crutchfield, who is the administrator at Central Baptist School, and of course, Memphis, Tennessee. And they're doing some really cool things. I talked to him before we started recording, and they got some really exciting things happening. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder. I'll let him share some of those, but I will kind of pass it off to him real quick to introduce himself. So Travis, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Well, thank you, Mitchell. It's good to be here with
awesome.
you.
I always like to start off the podcast by learning about Memphis. I've never been to Memphis before, but if I was to visit Memphis and see you guys, what would you say, Mitchell? You got to do this when you come to Memphis.
Well, you'll have to get some barbecue, some very good barbecue. I will not name places and cause a war here, but what I will do is just say that we have the best barbecue in the world. Memphis is that city that has, in spite of all of its issues, we're just a country place, especially in the suburban areas where we live out here. So we're just really excited about Memphis. It's home.
Awesome. Well, I'm a big barbecue fan, and so I married into the family of somebody from North Carolina, so I inherited this vinegar barbecue, which I am not a fan of vinegar barbecue. I just think that's wrong. So I'm a big barbecue sauce fan.
There's something wrong about that, but anyways, it's pretty good actually. But anyway,
good deal. Well,
yes,
hey,
sir.
So before we kind of dive in specifically to some of the questions I have in your school, I'd love to kind of just get a quick background of you, how you got to where you are today at Central Baptist.
Yeah, hey man, I'm a Christian, and that defines who I am in my life. And as far as that journey called Christianity, that I've had some extremely exciting times, and perhaps the most exciting was to discover that I'm a teacher, that I'm gifted that way, and I just love education. And Christian education became extremely important for me and my family, as we have 4 children who are grown, and have given us 3 grandchildren who are perfect, and we have this great opportunity as husband and wife now for 40 years to be in ministry together and the service in the same place and just enjoying life. Yeah, absolutely. Well, in that walk through Christian education, which is really my focus, true focus, my training and everything else would be about Christian education and providing Christian education to families, especially families who would fall in that category of being middle income and lower. My wife and I have just sort of been our heart's desire to be involved with children and their families to aid the local church in the growing of young Christians and into productive adults. And that has been our work for 40 years. We most recently in a school that was actually here in Memphis, a boarding school. It was a unique concept that started in one of the most impoverished areas in Memphis by a dear lady, Jo Walt, decided that in spite of her wealth, that there would be a need for Christian education in that neighborhood. And so she started a school. That's about 25 years ago. And now that little school became a school where my wife and I were able to serve as house parents and as teachers, dorm parents or something like that. And we did that for about 7 years. And then we were delivered to Central Baptist School. And that was 4 years ago. And during that time, God has revitalized our school. We went from an enrollment of 114 to our current enrollment now of 200, anticipating another 50 students next year. Plus, including, with that, we've added a strings program, a band program for middle and high school, robotics for elementary. We have a full, what we call the immersion program for Spanish, starting in K3. We are blessed to be a school with about 25% Hispanic enrollment and about 25% African American, and about 40% Caucasian members of our school learning community. And then the other 5, just some type of a beautiful mosaic of people. So our school does not require people to be Christians. We do families to have a respect for the principles that Christ outlined in Scripture on as to what a Christian should be. And we are a church school. We are a ministry of Central Baptist Church, and where I serve as children's pastor. And this is an extension of that role, reaching the people
Awesome.
in our community. So this is home. And I love this.
I can tell you love it. I can tell you're doing some really good stuff. And I think before you shared some really good things, I would love to specifically hear some challenges that you guys are up against as a school, and specifically current challenges that you're in, and how you're going about combating those challenges as a school.
Well, our school, like my heart is again and my church's heart is for the families who could not really afford a school like ours. And how do we make that happen? So the biggest challenge is finances for those families. How do we get them in here and meet our needs, as well as provide a quality Christian education for those children and support for the families to do that? And believing that we first trust God and move forward with our belief in Him, we started a scholarship program. And it's a challenge now because, it means I have to ask people. I walk around and I have this student here. Their parents, the tuition is about $6,000 for this child. They can at best do $1,500. Can you help them? Would you help this child? And the challenge would be having the time to do that for each child in need, making sure that we don't, I have a major concern about supporting the family as a unit. A traditional family, a unit. Not all of our parents, but most of our students come from very traditional homes with mom, dad, and that sort of setup. Not all of them. How do we support them, the entire family, in this effort to raise funds without sort of undermining the authority of those parents? And it just requires time. It's a challenge. I have to know every parent before I move out like that, before we ask. And then the circle of asking for help is that I have a circle within my church of individuals who sort of help very discreetly to raise funds. The challenge is always, because as we grow our program, because the band program, the strings program, the robotics program, all of those things are new. We have baseball and softball, that's new. We have archery, that's new. We have golf, that's new. We have track and field, new. We've always had volleyball. We've always had basketball. Soccer. Those 3 have been the mainstay. We've added to those, and I'm forgetting a sport, and cheerleading. Oh, I would hate to be, my goodness. So, but because we have children who have various needs, and how do we do that? How do we create an environment where all of those needs can be met at the cost that we are sort of forced to deal with? We need additional resources. So we found that Scripture says, if you have not because you ask not, and so we ask. And sometimes it is a challenge because we get people who say, no, I got my own. Did I understand that? I say no. Another challenge, I think, that I have to share the other side, which has been the answer to prayer for us, I believe. For some of our students in Tennessee, the state government just approved an education savings account program, which will allow funds to be directed to the parent, not to the school, but to the parent to choose a school of choice, private, public. And those funds are actually greater than our tuition. we, our church is deliberate on this now. Our tuition is, I think that's the 6,800. That's the high mark. And then it's graduated down from there in order to make sure that children can attend school here. Most of the schools around us, the tuition would begin at about 12,000. I understand that's their program. I'm not belittling anything there. But we have a mission, and that mission is to make sure we can get kids into school who would need, and the parents have that desire to have their child in a Christian setting. So the challenge, brother, man, is that, I'm sorry to call you brother if you don't want to, I hope you're not offended. Okay. I'll probably keep calling you that, Mitchell. But the biggest challenge would be how to take care of the financial piece wisely. The state came along and a program that offers the families who have not already been in a private setting and who have attended a public school $8,600 per year. So our school is right at the top of the list, and our phones are ringing off. We have not accepted any of those students because our testing and interview process is long and all of, but I'm excited because we have several of the students lined up to come. And in fact, what I'm so proud about our ministry, one thing I'm proud about our ministry, I'm proud about many things, but is that in 2019, this same program was instituted and struck down by the courts in Tennessee. By that time, we had accepted 5 students who did not have the means to pay. And I'm so proud that we graduated one of those students, and we have 4 of them enrolled currently because the commitment that we made was to the family, and the commitment was to that family. Yes, we were hoping to, recoup some payment for that, but we receive payments because it so happened that these students have aided our school to be a better school. And ultimately, that is what we're looking for each child, but also for our school. We just need to be a better school. And the better we are, the more attractive we become to people. And apparently, the more they talk, they keep sending people here. Thus, why I'm late to our meeting.
Well, and that's and Travis, that's awesome. Like you guys are doing the right thing. I love that the challenges that you have are like they're positive challenges that you guys are working against. I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect segue into like what's going really good. You've already shared obviously some things that are going good. Is there any others you'd like to touch on of like kind of give you a chance to brag about the school a little bit of what's going good?
Oh man, we were looking at what looked like the Red Sea last year because we needed 5 teachers. 5. And we have maybe 14 teachers in our school, full-time teachers, and we needed 5. And so we had individuals one lady, marvelous teacher, she's pregnant and had to step down. And we had others who had health issues, had to step down and just, And so we're looking at this program, looking and asking, we need 5 teachers. And I went to our school board and said, really, we need 7 because we're going to start a resource program. And so we had a part-time resource program where we just had a person who came in and she would do a couple of hours a day. That was not meeting the needs. But at the time, that was all that we had. Well, God sent us a full-time resource person. And we also added a choral part-time person and a strings part-time person to a teacher to complete it. So basically, we ended up with 5 regular classroom teachers, new, plus a resource teacher, and then a half-day strings instructor and a half-day choral instructor. Wow. So 7. So I am excited about that. So what I'm bragging about is that this year, after the intent letters were returned, I think we're going to need 2 teachers for the coming year. And it's amazing how, after facing the need for 7, how 2 really seems like that's all. It's just 2. And what's even more excited about it is I already have 2 candidates. Awesome. Already. And one of those candidates is from another Christian school, graduated, and is now coming back. And the other just heard about us. We are an urban school in a somewhat suburban area, and we have some unique demographics that way, very unique. I did not realize how unique and became fully active within our accreditation or our Association of Christian Schools.
Hmm.
I did not realize until I met with the other administrators, and I said, oh, no, it's not like that at our school. It's not that way. Of course, I'm not much like many of the administrators either, so that it could be something else. I don't know. So yes, sir, that's where we are, Mitchell.
Love it.
That's
Well,
where we
I
are.
can tell things are going good. People are excited to go to your school. Teachers are excited to come back. Enrollment's growing. You got people that are you're wanting to grow. I think you said 50 students a year, possibly to get to your max.
Mhm.
Like that seems like everything is of a healthy school that's doing well. And obviously, we want
Yes,
that for all of our listeners that are listening, and we want their schools to have the same exact thing. You've been doing this a
yes,
while. You've been there. I think you said 4 or 5 years at this school. What
yes,
for?
4 years
So I
here.
would love to I always ask at the very end of the podcast, like, what would be a piece of advice that you would share with all the other school leaders that are listening? Is there kind of one? I mean, sometimes people have
Oh
multiple
yeah.
ones, but if you had one, what would you share?
Hey, I don't know. I'm an older guy, so this would be nearly 40 years, and I know this sounds simplistic. And as I talk to other administrators, the younger ones seem to be able to accept more easily what I'm about to say. The best advice I can say to give is that the administrator must absolutely love his or her school. And I mean every part. If there's, I mean, even the parking lot, that if there's every single detail, not that I have to manage it all, I can't do that. No administrator can do that. But there's a love that exists and for that school. Our school, my school, Central Baptist, is an extension of what exists in my heart for my school. I mean, for really for the Lord, it's just an extension. So what I'm saying then is that at the core of that love would be the students that I've shared with many administrators. I said, well, brother, I want to say I'm afraid that I don't know if you really like kids very much, and they said like if you and they will know it. They will know in a heartbeat. They can judge and determine. Do you? He said, well, I didn't really join this. I mean, I'm not really doing this, sadly, for the kids. Everything about this school is for these kids. So that parking lot, which I'm looking at on the camera right now, that if there's something wrong with that thing, if the traffic isn't right, or if the lines are not drawn in a way that makes it conducive for our traffic, for people to pull out, and is it safe? That this is really about the kids. Now, think about it for a second. If that's true about a parking lot, what about the teachers? That oh no, so they have to be supported. I love to meet with them. Some of them come in and they're so nervous as if they've done something wrong. Really, I've made it clear to them that I just need to get good feedback. See, Mitchell, I've told my teachers that every good idea that I have ever had has come from somebody else. And it comes from them, it comes to me, and then I'm able to implement it. I have the power to do something. So I'm going to meet with all of them. It starts today after I finish with you. It's just a 20 to 30-minute meeting, and they will give me feedback about this. And I've already given them the questions and told them, hey, I need to know what did we do well, and now what is the frustration, the biggest frustration? If resources were not an issue, what would you want done here? What can I do as an administrator to get it done? Then, if you are coming back, what would you like to see next year? If you're not coming back to the school, what would you like to see if you ever did come back to the school? Brother, I'm always excited about those meetings because it's just good stuff. And I compile that information and then I'll share it with the teachers and staff members, not just the teachers. It's the custodian. It's everybody here. I want to know because the custodian would know how to take care of that, because we have little boys here and there are issues that exist. I need to know from him just what he needs and how do I get that?
Yeah.
Ask him and then have him reply to me. So the best advice I have in a nutshell is to love your school, and every part of it. Every part of it. I don't have to like everything that happens, but I'm in a position to do something about that. And so there's some things I have no power about. I cannot put 400 children in a school built for
Mm-hmm.
320. I just won't do that. That's not going to happen. That's not wise use of the resources we have. We're going to do what's right. So hopefully that answered the question for you. That and if anybody does listen, especially administrators, love your school, love the people there, love them. And a bit of advice: what if you don't know how to love them? As a Christian, I would say ask God to show me how to love the people here, and I just know He'll show them what they can do, what they can say, how can they demonstrate that. God will help them.
I love that, Travis. And taking what you said, the students, the other teachers, everybody, the parents, they'll feel that love that you have for the school, and then like they feel it. And if you're faking it, there's only so much faking of that you can do before it
No,
comes out. And so I love that.
the kids know.
Yeah, man,
Kids know, brother.
they are
They
smart.
know.
And I love
They
that you're
know.
vulnerable enough to obviously, I mean, I would hope everybody's doing this, but like meeting with the teachers and asking for feedback. You're not saying, "Hey, we're going to fix that because they brought it up." Like you're not, I know you're
Right.
not doing that. Like, "Oh,
Right.
we're going to go put in that gymnasium tomorrow for $3 million." We're not doing that, but you're letting them feel like their voice is heard, which it should be. Every teacher's voice should be heard of like what they're seeing, things you're not going to see. And so I love that you're vulnerable enough to have that conversation with them, that they feel comfortable, you feel comfortable enough. And I would hope every school leader listening like has those conversations with their team, and that you're going to get so much valuable feedback as well as stuff from the parents. Have you guys, kind of like a flip question, have you guys sent out like surveys to parents and also the students, like, hey, how can we be better as a school? Have you done anything like that?
The way I do it, all 142 families, parents and students, have my phone number and my cell. And of course, we are a K-3 to 12th grade school. So the interests vary greatly here. I mean, so it's very much so. In pre-K, if it's the mat that they sleep on. I mean, is that we're providing that, and that the state has regulations. So we will send a survey out to parents who express concern about having to get the right mat because the one that is available is not acceptable. So we decided, I said, well, what would you think if we ordered the mats? And we have them, and then there's a standard fee that covers all of it that we will not ask for it. And that went into school supplies. We now order all school supplies for our students. We provide the ones we want, and that moved from pre-K to elementary. Now it's moving through sixth grade. And what like I received from my parents was this: "Thank you, Mr. Crutchfield. You know how hard it is." I said, "Yeah, I do know how to find the supplies, but really to take that
Yeah.
time to go find those supplies. And they may not even be there. And plus, they may be the wrong one. Yeah, they may be the wrong supplies." My wife told me, said, "Travis, be careful. If we do not need crayons that are not crayons." It said, no, no. The children will end up with some waxy color thing that is not right. And true crayons, if you're teaching children about color, you need to have the right crayons and not those that are some, in between. We need to do so. Yes, the way we do it is I prefer the direct line. Now, the surveys are wonderful. It's so quick. You get Survey Monkey and just do one. And just, it's like find out, like on concessions, we used to do hamburgers and big deal, had people come in. Well, the problem was nobody wanted it. And just no hamburgers. So we'll order pizza and just order box after box after box of pizza because that's what they want. I'm saying that's what they want. They're coming to ball games that start at, man, because we are a K-3 to 12th grade school. Our ball games start at about 4 o'clock and end at about 10. And because we have to have all of these teams, we got our elementary teams and our junior high teams and then the middle school teams, our varsity, junior varsity, and then our varsity games. And so in order to get everybody in, we
Yeah.
just have to adapt. But all of that has to be motivated by love. Otherwise, it'll become one of those, bitter things that we're not doing for the kids. I don't know, that as I've shared with other administrators, that I think that's a failing that we have to deal with as leaders, that we really need to love the kids, love the school. We really need to.
Totally agree.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
Travis, I've enjoyed our time together. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. You guys are busy there at the school to be able to hop on this podcast, and me to be able to learn from you, the other listeners to
Thank
learn
you.
from you. And I just want to say thank you for all your years of pouring into students and loving students. It shows. I can tell you love it. So please continue to do it for 30 more years, Travis, at least 30 more years. All right.
Yes. Yeah, we're looking at maybe another
Okay.
10, and then we're looking at about 10 more. Yeah, my
Awesome.
wife and I. Okay. And Mitchell, thank you for the invitation, and I do hope hopefully somebody will be encouraged. But I know I love talking about my school, so that's just throwing bait out there for a hungry tiger. So I'm glad to talk about Central Baptist School, and thank you for giving me this platform.
All right.
To do it.
Wishing you nothing but the best, Travis.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Travis for taking time and being on the podcast. I love his heart for students and his school, and I love what they're doing over there at Central Baptist in Memphis. I'm wishing them nothing but the best as they continue to grow and educate the next generation that's coming behind us. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, man, I need help to grow my school and get to that next level, I'd love to hear from you. You can check us out online, schoolsuccessmakers.com. That's schoolsuccessmakers.com. We love working with schools, helping them to grow their enrollment and connect better with their families using good old technology. So if you're not into the website world that much, then check us out on Facebook. We have a private Facebook group just for school leaders called School Success Makers. That's School Success Makers on Facebook. Private group just for school leaders. I'm personally in there, and I'd love to personally see you in there as well. We'll be here next time with another amazing guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then.